All right, put your questions or comments down below. We'll start in just a minute. All right. Excuse me. Welcome back. FYI, if I seem a little out of it tonight, been kind of a frustrating 24 hours. My internet was out. It's been out since about 10 last night, and if you know me, there's nothing more frustrating to me than when my internet doesn't work. So I couldn't sleep very well because of this, and I woke up early, couldn't get back to sleep, and I was waiting around for the technician guy to come over and fix it, and that took like close to 2 hours. And then I had to scramble to put my notes together for this tonight. So I'm feeling a little out of it right now. And also, if we have any technical problems tonight, that's why, because the Wi-Fi is really screwy. And also, I have a cough now, apparently. So, no dinner. I got some grapes and some chips here. That's it. But we're still gonna do this because I had some things to say about Flash in particular, and I couldn't not do the live stream and say this. So let's get started. Start with Flash, episode 16, Rogue Time.
Barry travels back in time, which allows him to easily fix every single bad thing that happened last week. Then Captain Cold shows up again, and some new, completely unrelated bad stuff happens. He kidnaps Cisco, learns Barry's secret identity, but he's just going to sit on that information for now. Also, Barry breaks up with Linda because he's an idiot. And he tries to make something happen with Iris again because he's an idiot. But in the newly altered timeline, Iris just isn't into it. And the people rejoiced. First, the positives. All the Cisco stuff in this episode was good. I thought this was some of the better stuff that Cisco has had to work with all season, actually. I like the stuff with his brother. Seems like a dick at first, but then he reveals he's always been jealous of Cisco. I'm not sure why the parents favor the brother so much if Cisco is the one who made something of himself. But it didn't take away from this. The conversation was illuminating. I really liked Snart torturing the brother to get Barry's identity out of Cisco. He came off like a totally ruthless asshole, threatening the concert pianist with frostbitten fingers. That's the kind of stuff a villain like Cold should be doing. And I love how Wentworth Miller plays him, too. You're always so calm, never losing his chill about anything. Really nice performances there. And afterward, when Cisco is feeling so guilty that he thinks he doesn't deserve to be there anymore, and Wells convincing him to stay, actually using the same verbiage he used when he murdered Cisco last week, I thought that was very clever and some really poignant writing. And again, some good acting by Carlos Valdez here. This might have been his best episode acting-wise, actually. Now, as for the rest of it, for most of this episode, I was oscillating between confusion and just calling bullshit at the top of my lungs. First, there's the time travel. One thing I will give them. They made this power something that Barry can't figure out yet. Getting around the question of, well, why doesn't he just go back to the past and fix the problem every time something bad happens? So they plugged that hole, at least for now. But everything else here, oh my God. Where do I start? The time travel itself was incredibly contrived. Barry travels like 24 hours into the past. Okay, but doesn't that mean there should be two Barrys running around now? Where's the Barry from 24 hours ago? He's not there. Because apparently Barry has time jumped into his past self's body or traded places with it or something. I had no idea what the fuck this was. And I'm pretty sure that's not how time travel works. But you know why they did it? You know why they did this? They did this so they wouldn't have to waste time explaining why there are suddenly two Barrys running around and everyone is suspicious of Barry from the future, not leaving enough time to do the Captain Cold stuff. Problem is, that would have been way more interesting. And the fact that they didn't bother offering up a concrete explanation for this just felt really cheap. It's like they had an idea they liked, they didn't have a good way to explain it, but then they just did it anyway. And this just opens up so many questions and plot holes. Like, if he's transferring into the body of his past self, or whatever the fuck, why didn't that happen when he was fighting the Reverse Flash 20 years ago? Shouldn't he have jumped into the body of his 5-year-old self then? I mean, what, then two Barrys could exist at the same time, but not this time? I mean, why is it different now? None of this makes any sense. So Barry goes about fixing everything, basically making the events of the previous episode completely pointless because they never happened. So the entire sequence is one giant take-back. Tidal wave, retcon. Captain Singh crippled, retcon. Cisco's death, retcon. I understood why they were going, what they were going for here, but that doesn't mean that this didn't feel like one giant cop-out. I think it would have worked a lot better if this had been the entire plot of the episode. Have Barry trying to stop all the bad things last week from happening, but his actions causing ripple effects and the timeline trying to correct itself and him getting more and more desperate to solve this problem as complications pile up, maybe him inadvertently making things worse somehow, and in the end only succeeding by the skin of his teeth. So ultimately he saves the day, but he realizes that, holy shit, time travel is some scary fucking stuff, which would create a lot more suspense for later on when he has to do it again to fight the Reverse Flash in the past. But instead, Barry solves every single problem from last week very easily within the first 20 minutes of the episode, completely undermining all the drama from last week like it wasn't even a big deal, and then we're off on some completely unrelated adventure when Captain Cold shows up again. This is the kind of bullshit that Smallville used to do. Have tons and tons of build-up to something, only for the payoff to fall flat on its ass because they didn't stick the landing. And here's another problem. Barry captures the Weather Wizard before he attacks the police precinct, before he puts Captain Singh in the hospital, before he kidnaps Joe, before he threatens the city with a giant tsunami, and locks him up in the particle accelerator. Okay? Later on, Joe shows up all nonchalant and asks why Barry didn't tell him that he captured the Weather Wizard. So Barry locked him up without telling the police, apparently. The cops didn't know about this, meaning that the Weather Wizard was never officially arrested, never read his rights, never taken into custody, or charged with anything. And that means that they are basically holding the Weather Wizard hostage in violation of due process of law, denying him his constitutional rights. At least with the other prisoners, you could argue that the police booked them off screen sometime and then handed them over to Star Labs, but here they point out that this never happened. They didn't even tell the cops that they had him, apparently, until the authorities have time to book Weather Wizard properly, put him through the system, whatever. Star Labs is holding him illegally, and no one even mentions this. Would they have even told the cops about it if Joe hadn't walked in just then? There are laws being broken here, guys. Why is no one talking about that? I don't know. I guess they had to make time for Barry to complain about his non-existent relationship with Iris that nobody gives two shits about. And what made that even more aggravating, as if him dumping Linda wasn't stupid enough, is that Barry is talking about how him and Iris had this moment and then it was gone after he changed the past. He's talking about this right after he learned that Captain Cold is holding Cisco hostage. Your friend's life is hanging in the balance here, Barry. Can we please focus on that right now? Bitch about your love life some other fucking time. Priorities, man. Jesus. That was so frustrating, I almost didn't mind when Eddie punched Barry in the face. Oh, by the way, that's assault. Eddie, the police officer, mind you, just committed assault while on duty. And nobody says a word about this. No one thinks twice about it. No one blinks at it. Okay. It's dumb, but frankly, it's the least of this episode's problems. So Barry finds Captain Cold and his sister stirring up shit in a casino. Watch this scene carefully, all right? Tell me how this makes any fucking sense. Barry uses his speed, disarms the sister of her weapon, very easily has her defeated in the blink of an eye, and then tells Captain Cold, drop your weapon or she gets it. If Barry could take out the sister so effortlessly, then why the fuck could he not take out Captain Cold the same way? They do this shit in every Captain Cold episode, and it's more irritating every time. Use your brain, dumbass. You just took out the sister like she was nothing. Now just do the same thing to Captain Cold. Use your speed, take away his gun, knock him unconscious before he hits the floor. This fight should be over in less than a fucking second. You know why Barry doesn't do this? Because if he didn't, then the episode wouldn't have a fucking plot. There is no excuse for this. Come on. If he's not going to do that, at least, if Barry is going to do this, at least have it make sense. I mean, for God's sake, it's just, look, okay, sure, Cold is holding Cisco hostage, but Barry doesn't know that yet. So have Barry take out both of them, just like that, and then have Cold say, oh, by the way, Flash, I'm holding your buddy Cisco hostage. Give us our weapons back and let us leave, or Heatwave is going to melt his face off. Boom. Easy. You get the same result, but without having your hero act like a total fucking moron. Flash writers, this is not complicated, okay? It's not. I'm not a professional TV writer, and I just came up with a better scenario in like 5 fucking seconds. Why can't you do that? I did like their final confrontation, though. This was a pretty interesting way to take things, actually, where Cold knows Barry's secret identity, but he can't really use it for anything other than making Barry back off. So it's like, I can't do anything to him or he'll reveal my secret, and he can't do anything to me because if he does, I'll end him, consequences be damned. So they're kind of in a stalemate here, which makes for a pretty interesting dilemma for Barry that may not have an easy solution. That was good. And the Cisco stuff was good. Everything else about this episode was just a mess. All the stuff about stopping all the terrible things before they happened should have played out over the entire episode, and it should have been a lot more difficult to resolve. Instead, they resolve all that stuff like it doesn't even matter, and then they shoehorn in this Captain Cold stuff, which also should have had its own episode. So they tried to cram 2 episodes into one here, and the result was that neither story worked the way it should have. It had a couple redeeming factors, but conceptually, this episode was a big, fat fail. Twitter questions. At Pedrolunian says, this episode was bad and made the previous episode irrelevant. The last scene was very good. Yeah, pretty much. I like it suddenly they act like Barry has a brain all of a sudden. He does some profoundly stupid things dealing with Captain Cold, but then all of a sudden it just takes one hint and then, oh, maybe Harrison Wells is evil after all. Just, can we please write Barry a little more consistently? I don't think that's asking for too much. And I said, where the hell is the Barry from 24 hours ago? Shouldn't there be 2 Barrys now? I have so many questions about this. And at Striffin19 replies, basically, future Barry's mind went into past Barry's body, a la Days of Future Past. Okay, but if that's the case, why didn't that happen when he's fighting the Reverse Flash 20 years ago? Like I said, I mean, suddenly there's 2 Barrys that can exist at one time now. Shouldn't he have gone into his 5-year-old self's body in that case? It's not adding up, guys. It's not. The Save Me One. Who is the worst comic book show couple right now? Barry and Iris or Gordon and Barbara? I would say Gordon and Barbara, just because Barry and Iris haven't become a couple yet. Although, in their defense, Gordon and Barbara are may enter into so bad it's funny territory at some point. I don't know if that's going to happen with Barry and Iris. Okay, wrestling question that comes after. That gaming asshole. Iris was more annoying this week than usual, and she barely talked. Why? Why, Flash? It's like every time I see her, she's doing something more perplexing than the last time. Also, Major Disaster, I'm calling him that from now on, got fucking exposed. Even if they didn't want to maintain the city being annihilated in the past timeline, then at least they could have had a real fight between the two. I prefer that to the Prison Break reunion show now with Goldiefinger. It's a James Bond Jr. reference. Google it. What the hell was up with her, by the way? Was she supposed to be Goldface? Because that's the only gold-related villain I can think of. Also, Barry breaks up with a cute Asian girl because of reasons. 3 out of 10 Gotham levels of fail. Yeah, that was really fucking annoying. They build up Weather Wizard like this huge fucking like monster of a bad guy, and then in the changed timeline, Barry just runs into his apartment and beats him off screen. That was bullshit. It's just terrible. We don't. Apparently, the fight is over really quickly, and we don't even get to see it. It's just terrible. Yeah, that gun that Cisco cooked up for Snart's sister was really weird. It's like what are they coat? What is it? Coating things in gold? I need more information about how this gun works. Shouldn't she have like a tank of liquid on her back? If that's the case, I mean, what's powering this gun? It's really strange. That gaming asshole. Sydney 1. Gordon and Barbara. I can deal with Iris. She's annoying. She's not insane. Babs is fucking maniacal. Yeah. Iris is kind of annoying, but Barbara is in a class by herself. That gaming asshole. Well, I imagine they don't hand the metahumans over to the cops because half of them are indestructible superhumans and the other half are indestructible superhumans who are also high-functioning sociopaths. What prison is going to hold these guys other than the pipeline? Yes, but that's not what I said. You know, I've gone over this in the past, but it's conceivable that Star Labs could have worked out a deal with the local authorities to house these superhumans, these metahuman criminals, because ordinary prisons wouldn't be equipped to handle them. But these criminals still have to be arrested and arraigned and charged and sentenced before they can be put away in this place. Now, we can assume that most of the people in there already were booked by the authorities off camera at some point. But here, they made a point to spell out for us that never happened. They just locked the Weather Wizard up and it apparently didn't even bother to tell the cops. You know, he's a metahuman criminal, but he still has rights, certain inalienable rights, and by denying him those rights, they're violating due process and breaking the law. And that's the problem I had with it. That's a problem in comics too, but the answer here, a special jail for superhumans, is better than the one from the comics, which is that the Flash just throws up his hands and says, oh well. Look, I can buy the superhuman jail. That's fine. That's not the issue here. But you still have to get the law involved. There's certain things you have to go through before you can lock somebody in a metahuman jail. Read the guy his rights. Have him sentenced, that kind of stuff. That giving asshole. You're right, the time travel mechanics here make no sense. I was only kidding with the quantum leap joke last week, but apparently the writers took it to heart. I know, man. I don't get it either. They really need to explain that, because that is... I don't know what's going on with that. I have no explanation for it, and it makes no sense to me, and that really bugs me. Damn. All right, moving on. Arrow. Season 3, episode 17. Suicidal tendencies, excuse me. Dig and Lila get married, and instead of a honeymoon, they go on a mission with the Suicide Squad. Ray Palmer uses the X-ray vision on his supersuit to learn Oliver's secret identity. Seemed to be a fad on the DC shows this week. Which leads to Arrow versus Iron Man. Oops, I mean the Atom. Oliver convinces Palmer that he's not the one who's been killing criminals lately, that it's a copycat, only for Maceo posing as Oliver to kill the district attorney right in front of Quentin Lance. Also, they killed Deadshot, which I was not happy about at all. With the way this episode was splitting its focus between two pretty significant storylines here, I was very surprised with how well they both worked. Could they have each carried their own episode? Yeah, but it didn't feel like either one got shortchanged here. In fact, I was impressed with how the writers were able to juggle these two plots and devote enough attention to do them both justice. You know, Floyd Lawton is one of my favorite recurring characters on this show, so you bring back Deadshot, I'm probably going to enjoy it. Not only that, but you give Deadshot the flashbacks, and you've got the makings of some really interesting stuff here. He's a soldier who comes home from war, can't handle the PTSD, winds up behind bars with a wife who's got a restraining order against him. As origins go, it's not incredibly original, but you know, and then they never showed us the most important stuff, which was whatever he did in the military to make him this way. I wanted to see that stuff, but it was kind of fascinating to see Lawton so human, I guess. You know, before he was Deadshot, before he'd kind of given up on himself and just became a killer, basically, he was a good man who was traumatized in the military and just couldn't shake it. And I really liked learning this stuff. You also liked seeing the operative from Hive and touching on that whole subplot that they still haven't done a thing with. And knowing how Lawton's own family got destroyed because of what he is, and because he apparently drank some of the Hive Kool-Aid, it makes the stuff with him and Dig and Lila really resonate, because they're dealing with similar stuff right now with their own family. And I was really enjoying all their scenes together. Something else I didn't expect to like as much as I did, the stuff with Cupid flirting with Deadshot. It came out of nowhere, but it was so random and twisted and fun in a bizarre way. I actually found myself imagining all the different possibilities with this, and everything you could do with Cupid and Deadshot, of all people. I mean, not even as a couple necessarily, but like just interacting and going on missions together and stuff, because they had an entertaining little dynamic going there. Which just made it all the more frustrating to me when Deadshot apparently gets killed at the end. To be fair, I think they did justice to his character. Yeah, they gave him a fair amount of closure, gave him a good exit, and made him nice and three-dimensional before they killed him off. So his death did mean something, and it serviced the story with Dig and Lila. That said, this pissed me off. This wasn't like Tommy or Moira, where they'd kind of finished that character off and it was just time for them to go. To me, this really felt like a waste of a great character that still had a ton of mileage and they could have done a lot more stuff with. It wasn't senseless or something done just for shock value. I mean, you could see the purpose behind it. But man, it really felt to me like there were more stories to tell with Deadshot, and this just happened too soon. So that really bummed me out. I wanted to see him and Dig track down Hive. I wanted to see him and Cupid do more stuff, damn it. And don't get me wrong, this was all really good. It was well written and everything. But Deadshot getting killed, man, that really bummed me out. But we did not see a body, and that's the rule on TV. If you don't see a body, assume they're still alive. And he better still be alive, damn it, because I want more of this character. Then there's the stuff in Starling City. Palmer learns that Oliver is the Arrow, and then learns that Felicity has been working with the Arrow, and then lures Oliver into a fight. I like that they didn't draw this out. Palmer gets one shot of the Arrow, and his facial recognition tech does the rest. No beating around the bush at all. And then he figures out Felicity immediately, although Felicity did make that hilariously easy for him. Like, what? Me working with the Arrow? Me having feelings for Oliver? No, that's ridiculous and stuff. Her reaction was pretty funny, actually. She didn't even try to deny it. Well, now she did, but it was really half-assed. So he immediately shuts her out. And this was all really good. It made me dislike Palmer more, but I think that was the point. And believe it or not, it had the added bonus of actually making me like Laurel in one scene, which is no small feat. He brings this evidence to the DA's office, and Laurel covers for Oliver, and he figures her out, too. But she kind of poons him a little bit here. And if you're getting pooned by Laurel, of all people, that does not reflect so good on you, Palmer. Felicity's explanation to Oliver about all this was fantastic. She just blurts out the whole thing in one long sentence. No one but Felicity could make that work. And then we've got our big fight. Palmer thinking he's going after a criminal, but it's also a little bit more of a pissing contest about Felicity. It's subtle, they don't play it up too much, but it's there. Just enough to add a little extra context, and I like that. And this was the first time we got to see the Atom suit in action, and you know what? It looked really effing good. I wasn't sure how they could do this on a TV budget, but they pulled it off, like, really well. I mean, obviously the fight was on a small scale, but A for effort, man. The production team made that suit work. But at the same time, it's pretty funny how easily Oliver beats him. Like, one arrow through one cord on the side there, and the whole suit just shuts down. That's a pretty fucking big design flaw, Palmer. I'm just saying, you might want to cover that cord up next time. Put some armor plating over that thing or something. But Oliver proves to Palmer that he's the good guy and he's the bigger man about Felicity. Doesn't mean his feelings have changed, but he wants her to be happy. And look, I still don't like the Felicity Palmer thing at all. That was doomed before it even started. I hated how it was set up. I've been all over that. But the way they're playing the actual love triangle, creating dramatic tension without actually vilifying either guy, that is so much more effective and lends itself to much more dynamic situations than the love triangle on Flash, where anytime Eddie thinks Iris might feel something for Barry, he turns into a jealous asshole. Here, you're not making it an easy choice for the girl to make. Sure, we know which way she's going to go ultimately, but that's no reason to make the journey obvious and uninteresting. So I actually really like how they're playing that. Also, really like the cliffhanger at the end. Hot damn, Palmer's trying to call off the witch hunt on the Arrow, Quentin's pissed off, then an Arrow smashes through the window and kills the DA. And oh shit, it's Maceo who shot it. And then he takes aim at Felicity. Great fucking cliffhanger. Totally shocked me. And now that they've done this, shit's about to get real, and they set up a lot of exciting stuff here. I'm worried about Maceo. I don't know if he's going to survive the season after this. I would suspect not, actually. And that's too bad, because I like Maceo. A very strong episode of Arrow here. They balanced the two plots very well. Pretty much everything worked, and they set the stage very well for big things to start happening next week. I'm pissed off about Deadshot. I don't agree with them killing him, but until we see a body, they can always bring him back. So I really enjoyed Arrow this week a lot. All right, Twitter questions. At Pedro Lunian says, Ray, fake Iron Man Palmer. When are we gonna see him be the Atom? Yeah. Is he gonna start shrinking down to microscopic size at some point? Because he does seem more like Iron Man than Ray Palmer right now. I mean, I understand that. I mean, the Iron Man movies are huge hits, but still, it's fucking Iron Man. It's not the Atom. It's pretty obvious. All right, I said, are you kidding me? What a waste of a character. There was so much more they could have done with Deadshot. At Pedro Lunian says, I'm also pissed. I wanted to see Deadshot and Cupid as a couple. I did too, damn it. There was a lot they could have done with those two together. You know, she's coming on to him, and he says, I changed my mind. I think I do want to die. I wanted to see more of that dynamic. They were really entertaining. I was really liking the chemistry there. Just felt like a big waste. At Pedro Lunian, Maceo, if you shoot Felicity, Oliver will kill every single member of the league, starting with you. Yeah, probably. I feel like there's two. Oliver seems to have a handle on the killing thing, and where he really doesn't do that anymore. I think there's two things that could push him over the edge and make him resort to killing again. One would be if anything happened to Thea, or if anything happened to Felicity. So, gotta figure if she gets hurt, that doesn't spell good things for Maceo at all. At Pedro Lunian, bet Quentin dies. If not, Felicity gets shot, almost dies. Oliver finally shows how much he loves her. Ray sees it and backs down. I definitely think Quentin's going to die this season. I don't think it'll be next week, but at some point this season, yeah, that's what I think. Ray sees it and backs down. I don't think so. If anything, I think Felicity will break it off. Or else he'll, yeah. I think if anything, Felicity's going to break it off. Okay. Sound off on Arrow. Okay. Profess 84. A number of fans have been complaining about season 3 of Arrow. Do you believe that season 3 of Arrow is the worst season yet? I don't think worst is the right word. I think even at its worst, Arrow is a very good show. I think it's more accurate to say that season 3 has been the most hit and miss. Some things work, some things haven't. Plus, they have the added complication of trying to follow up season 2, which was really fucking good. You know, so I think it's going to look unfavorable compared to season 2. So I think some people might be harsh on it in that sense. I think some of the problems with season 3 is that it's had a lack of narrative momentum at times. The who killed Sarah mystery kind of came in kind of they kind of pushed it a little bit and then kind of backed off and then brought it back when the plot demanded it. It didn't really carry dramatic tension all the way through. You know, they just kind of brought it back when it was there to service the plot. Some of the flashbacks in Hong Kong were kind of meandering and didn't really. They weren't as compelling as the stuff on the island. At least in the beginning. Now it's getting better, but. Still, there have been a few problems with season 3. I think I wouldn't go so far as to call it a bad season. And like I said, calling it the worst isn't the right word. I would say it's probably the most hit and miss. Even at the worst of times, though, Arrow is more hits than misses. More hits than misses, though. The Save Me one. How the hell did Palmer know that Laurel is Black Canary? Just because she had a cast on her arm and is trained with Wildcat, that sounds like lazy writing BS to me. That was a bit of a stretch. Yeah, how did Palmer know she was training with Wildcat? Unless he was investigating her that whole time. And why would he be doing that? I mean, did he go so far as to investigate all of Oliver's close friends and family in the few hours since he found out that Oliver was the Arrow? That part you had to take with a grain of salt. Yeah, I will agree with that. Flash. Okay. Amy Jumenick, blonde or redhead? Amy Jumenick, who is that? Hold on. Oh, is that oh yeah, that was sorry, that's Cupid, right? Yeah. Redhead. 100%. I have a big thing about redheads, so I'll probably always, if it's a redhead or blonde or redhead or brunette, I'll always go redhead. Always. That gaming asshole. Lila is my shiro. She fucking gets it. All these other chicks always complain when their boyfriends or husbands or whatever have to save lives, and it annoys the shit out of me, but Lila gets it. She fucking understands what duty and honor means, and that her own happiness or his mean nothing, nor does the happiness of their kid if that kid is not alive to enjoy it because the world ended. I won't disagree with that. Lila does seem to be the most level-headed female character on the show. More so than Felicity, who they've kind of fucked up with this with this Ray Palmer situation a little bit. And Thea, who's making a lot of really questionable decisions right now. But Lila, she understands. Yeah, she understands that sometimes you got to do what you got to do, but at the same time, you got a responsibility to the kid, and you got to make sure they're alive and safe, and you can't do You can't do that if you're risking your life with the Suicide Squad. She understands all this stuff, and she seems to make the right decisions. And it's nice to have a female character like that. Even in the end, she'd rather Diggle go back and do good with Oliver than stay with her and do nothing. It's great. She's so understanding. She's so real. She understands duty and the importance of the mission. Lila and Diggle are officially my favorite couple in comics right now. Lila is my wifey. Okay, I'll stop gushing, LOL. Is Lila in the comics? I was not aware of that. That gaming asshole. Deadshot's not dead, no body, no death. Plus, that explosion didn't even look like it took out the roof at all, and they were setting him up with Cupid too. Nah, he's fine. He'll be back next season. I certainly hope so. That would make me very happy. That gaming asshole. Also, not Iron Man and Felicity. Ew, 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 just no. Yeah. It's icky. I don't like it. I don't like it. The sooner that's over, the better. The Save Me one. Quentin is starting to piss me off. Okay, I get that he lost a daughter, but does that mean he gets to treat the other one like crap? Well, you know, she did lie to him about Sarah's death. I mean, she had reasons. You know, maybe justifiable reasons, but she did lie to him. You know, his anger may be a little irrational, but you can understand why he's angry. However, what makes him kind of unlikable to me is that he's taking all the grief and anger that he's feeling about Sarah, and he's kind of transferring it onto something else. Kind of projecting it onto the Arrow and onto Laurel. And, you know, it's not dissimilar to what, you know, Laurel did in season 2. And I could sort of understand it, but I don't know. I kind of wish they weren't going here. Seriously, I get the vibe that if he could kill off Laurel and it would bring back Sarah, he would do it. It's okay for fans to think that, but not a character's father. I don't know if I go that far, but yeah, Quentin's in a dark place right now. And kind of missing season 2 Quentin right now, to be honest. That gaming asshole. I excuse the part with the suit since it is an incomplete prototype, but I cannot fucking abide by this creepy asshole winning over the main fucking hero of the show. I don't care if the journey is uninteresting, not Iron Man is fucking creepy. And LOL, I forgot Laurel was in the episode. Holy shit, she made that little of an impact on me. Well, I don't think he did win over Oliver. I think that whole thing was mainly about Oliver, you know, proving something to Felicity that, you know, he wasn't going to let, you know, pettiness interfere with, you know, his desire for her to be happy, and he wasn't going to let that cloud his judgment at all. And you can see, I guess as he can see that Palmer's not really a bad guy, he's just got the wrong idea about Oliver, and not taking into account that Palmer's a creepy fucking stalker, but just, you know, we've been over that. All right. One second. Okay. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2, Episode 14. Love in the Time of Hydra. This is what they call Season 2, Episode 14. No way that was a coincidence. Hunter finds out who Mac and Bobby are working for. Turns out it's a separate S.H.I.E.L.D. faction led by Bill Adama with a pimp cane. He decides he likes Coulson better, so he bolts. Elsewhere, Coulson sequesters Skye in a cabin in the woods, and Ward and Agent 33 break Bakshi out of military custody, only for him to probably wish he had stayed in jail. Interesting episode this week. This was actually very low-key in that there was almost no action here. Which is not to say there wasn't interesting things happening, quite the opposite. This is one of those get all the ducks in a row episodes where they're focusing mainly on just setting stuff up for later when the shit really hits the fan. But we still had a lot of really cool stuff. Case in point, Edward James Olmos, man. If you're not geeking out even a little bit about the idea of Coulson versus Bill Adama, then I don't know what to say to you. The big plot revelation this week was that Bobby and Mac are working for a different S.H.I.E.L.D. group that was formed by people who had reservations about Fury and aren't convinced that Coulson is the right guy to be running things, especially given his recent behavior. And I love how this all tied together, and how they incorporated the Kree juice maybe making Coulson insane subplot, which I always thought got wrapped up too easily. I knew there had to be more to it than that, or at least I was hoping there was more to it than that. And now we see there is. When you add the way that Coulson was acting when the Kree juice was making him nuts, to Hartley and Tripp getting killed following Coulson's orders, and all the other questionable calls he's made in pursuit of this alien stuff, there's enough reason here to doubt that Coulson is the best man to be running S.H.I.E.L.D. And the kicker is, these people actually make a pretty decent argument. It's not that far-fetched at all, really. That's what's so compelling about this. We may not be rooting for a real S.H.I.E.L.D., but in a weird way, it's hard to completely root against them because they do kind of have a point. And this goes back to all the stuff they were having Mac point out before. If Coulson is potentially not in his right mind, is he really the guy who should be running S.H.I.E.L.D.? It's a tough question, and the answer is probably going to be pretty messy. And that's a sign of some good writing right there, if there's no clear-cut good guy or bad guy. Now, I suspect real S.H.I.E.L.D. probably has ulterior motives in this that we haven't heard yet, but still. Putting that bit aside, this is mainly a character episode, focusing less on action and more on fleshing out a lot of the other various relationships. Bobby finally comes clean to Hunter about what she's been up to, and their relationship finally ends for good this time, it looks like. And what was most surprising about that was that Hunter was the one being adult about it. Bobby's the one who wanted to keep them together, even though she was always going to be lying to him. And Hunter's the one saying, yeah, that really wouldn't work, Bobby. That's not the basis for a healthy relationship. And this was easily the most emotionally vulnerable we've seen Bobby so far. And what was fascinating about it was that they've kind of switched roles all of a sudden. Back in episode 205, Hunter was the one getting all worked up and irrational about their relationship, and Bobby was the one being all chill and unaffected. And now Hunter's being the mature one, while Bobby's not the one not completely thinking with her head, even though she was being a spy over being with him. So I really like the character work done with these two here. I mean, seriously, who would have thought that between the trusted veteran S.H.I.E.L.D. agent and the merc for hire who only cares about money, that Lance Hunter would turn out to be the more trustworthy one? Not me. Not me, that's for damn sure. Although, the really twisted stuff belonged to Ward and 33. This thing with the two of them is so utterly cracked out and fucked up, and it's amazing. Agent 33 was brainwashed into being loyal to Whitehall. When he died, she had no idea what to do, so Ward took her under his wing. And so grateful to Ward is 33 that she offers herself to him with the nano mask programmed to make her look like Skye. And the mask is working now, but the voice is still screwy. So it's Agent 33 offering to fuck Ward while looking like Skye with May's voice. Great ADR work on that, by the way. This is creepy on a multitude of levels, and just for a second, it almost looked like Ward was into it. Jesus. But then Ward gets a hold of himself and actually chooses not to take advantage of 33 like that, which I was glad about because she's not exactly in her right mind at this point. So this would have been more than a little rapey, and Ward would have gone to the special hell for that. But yeah, Ward surprisingly does the decent thing here. I did not expect that from him. Now, might this be because Ward has ulterior motives? Possibly. They go through all this stuff, getting the nanomask fixed, breaking into Talbot's military compound, breaking Bakshi out, for what seems like not much more reason than to just give 33 some kind of closure, or at least Ward's version of it. 33 seems to find this emotionally and psychologically therapeutic, but by the end of the episode, she would probably die for Ward. And maybe that was what he wanted the whole time. Excuse me. We really don't know. And yet, when she turns the mask off and he says, when he sees her real face and he says he's proud of her and she hugs him, that was actually kind of sweet. So I'm really torn here between thinking that this relationship is creepy as sin, thinking Ward is just manipulating 33 for his own purposes, but at the same time, in a weird way, also kind of shipping them together. Ward, the worst possible person she could be with, has kind of become a mentor figure / potential love interest to 33, and she actually thinks Ward is really well adjusted. Think about that. How fucked up must 33 be to think that Ward is well adjusted considering all the shit he's been through? Sue me, but this Ward 33 thing is fascinating. Way more than the Sky Ward relationship ever was, in my opinion. I can't wait for them to explore this more because this is some kooky shit, and I kind of love it. Also, not that it had much of a point in the story other than just providing some laughs, but I loved all the scenes with Talbot just being a complete tool. Like boring the shit out of his assistant with all the stuff about his riding mower, talking about Taco Tuesday of all things, him drilling the lineup of female personnel with questions like, when's the last time I got your name right, soldier? You never got my name right, sir. That shit was funny. There were so many great lines this week, and Talbot got some really funny ones. Although, the best ones in the episode went to Lance Hunter. Clown Academy, Lady Thomas Jefferson, drink the conspiracy Kool-Aid, all the Hall of Hufflepuff watching, just zinger after zinger after zinger. They must have been stockpiling those or something. So now, unfortunately, my favorite relationship on the show doesn't get a lot to do. But what little screen time Fitzsimmons do get is pretty impactful. Fitz figures out that Simmons had something to do with Coulson taking Sky away somewhere and drops a pretty big truth bomb on her. And it's really impressive how much Fitz has grown this season because just a few episodes ago, there's no way he would have been able to do that. He basically tells her, look, you're using Trip dying as a reason why you're acting like this as an excuse. You're scared. Sky and I both changed, and you don't know how to handle it, and you're freaking out. And Simmons doesn't deny any of that. I kind of feel like Simmons is heading for an emotional breakdown of some kind. Like some kind of big moment where everything she's been bottling up this season just explodes out of her. Because she's PTSDing big time right now, and the cracks are starting to show. And the fact that Fitz actually calls her on this makes me think it's going to happen pretty soon. Maybe not next week, but soon. And I, for one, can't wait for that because Simmons having a freak out has been a long time coming. Also, there were a few random things here that don't really need to be examined very much, but they were really cool, and I wanted to point them out regardless. The origin of Lola. Yeah, Coulson's flying car gets its own origin story. Just putting that out there. Agent 33 has essentially become Madame Mask. Skye got proto-versions of the Quake gauntlets from the comics, but which may have unpleasant side effects, which they made a point to not explain. So I suspect Simmons is going to regret making those before too long, or at the very least, Skye is going to be upset with her. Warden 33 brainwashed Bakshi. And whether or not his compliance is rewarded isn't going to matter? Damn it. Damn it. Please don't kill Bakshi. Please don't do that. Does he have it coming? Yes. But don't do it. He's too cool of a villain. Although, if they wanted to just turn him into a follower of Ward, that has a lot of possibilities. I mean, there's so many different ways this could play out. I mean, now that Ward's gotten his hands on some brainwashing tech, this could get ugly. I would almost trust Whitehall with that technology more. Really nice character building episode from S.H.I.E.L.D. here. They had some big revelations, some excellent character progression, some dynamite visual effects with that shot where they pull back from Hunter and we see he's on this giant aircraft carrier. That was beautiful. And just like with Arrow, they set the stage for some really awesome stuff to happen next week with real S.H.I.E.L.D. making their move on Coulson. From that promo, it looks like we're going to get a May versus Bobby fight. Oh, baby. Make your bodies ready for that one. So, overall, a lower key episode, like I said. There weren't tons of explosions and action and stuff, but it showed that S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't need to rely on that to deliver really interesting stuff. I can hear the broken record comments already, but I really like this one a lot. I would have left my cough drops in the bathroom, wouldn't I? Damn. All right. The Save Me one. Last week I pointed out how no characters were making the point that being on the Index isn't such a bad thing, and how Skye could use these powers to be a hero. So I'm glad that they had Fitz do it this week, although Simmons' response about the Hulk was dead on. She may have had a point with the Hulk. I don't think he would hesitate to cure himself if he could. But again, Fitz had a point too. You know, if the Hulk had cured himself, if Banner had cured himself of being the Hulk, then Hulk wouldn't have been around to save the world when the Chitauri invaded. So Banner may not like being the Hulk, but utilized properly, Hulk can be a force for a lot of good. I really like this argument because they're positioning Fitz and Simmons on opposite sides of the Civil War argument, obviously, and neither one of them are completely right or completely wrong. Right now, I do think Fitz has the stronger case, but Simmons isn't thinking totally clearly right now. Also happy that Hunter brought up the point about why not just go to Coulson if you don't want him in charge. It takes away the issues I had with last week's episode. Yeah, I didn't point that out, but I really like that. He's like, look, if you got a problem with Coulson, why not just go talk to him? Yeah, there's self-referential stuff like that. It shows that the writers knew what they were doing here. Because it is a valid question. Why not just go talk to the guy? And then they get around that. Look, if he's insane, talking to him isn't going to help. Plus, we want to get all the facts, and these guys do seem a little shady, and if they talk to him, it kind of takes away their advantage. Looks like they're going to be using the element of surprise next week. Deluxe Man. But you know what the scariest change is, Gemma? It's you. Line of the night. Agreed. It's heart-wrenching watching Gemma change her morals over time. I understand why she does it, but it doesn't make it any easier. Yeah, it is. It's unfortunate. They did it. Elizabeth Henstridge has done interviews about this. She basically says, "Look, Gemma's traumatized right now, and she's always had this side of her, but she always, at the same time, she always had Fitz to kind of balance her out and take that edge off, and she's not listening to Fitz right now, and she's making a lot of decisions, like knee-jerk decisions, that she's probably going to regret later." And it is hard to watch this happen to Simmons, but it's been a long time coming, and she was due for a freakout. Yeah, I talked about this before, but Simmons has kind of been avoiding dealing with a lot of issues. It goes all the way back to the season 1 episode where she got infected with the Chitauri virus. She kind of avoids dealing with this stuff, and instead she just kind of locks it away. Yeah, we saw how she reacted to that, how she was kind of avoiding talking about it, avoiding talking to her parents about things that were bothering her. Usually people have to force her to confront uncomfortable emotions and feelings and stuff, and instead she just kind of bottles it up. And now all that stuff is kind of bubbling to the surface in unhealthy ways because she's never really dealt with it. Now on top of all that, Fitz got himself brain damage saving her life. She hasn't done it. She hasn't dealt with that at all. She just bottled all that stuff up. And Tripp died, who was only on the team in the first place because she got him in, so she feels responsible for that. And she's making all these decisions that are being informed by some horrible shit that she's been through. And she's just not handling it well, and it shows, and she's cracking, and she's really due for a complete. She's due for a breakdown. I think once she has that, she'll be better off for it. But she's kind of fraying at the edges right now. The Save Me one. I know that the gender and backstory would be wrong, but what are the odds that 33 could be a new version of the Chameleon in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? I think it's much more likely that she would be a new version of Madame Mask. I don't see any reason to make her like the Chameleon. Chameleon's a Spider-Man villain. You wouldn't really fit in this context. But Madame Mask, that would make sense. That gaming asshole. This whole S.H.I.E.L.D. Civil War thing is boring me. Half the episode was just them sitting around and talking about the nature of betrayal and war. Oh shit, it really was Battlestar Galactica. I was hoping Coulson would betray Quake, if only because it would be interesting, but really I knew it wasn't going to happen, just like I knew the sword wasn't showing up. Disagree. There was a lot of talking about betrayal and stuff, but I was enjoying the character dynamics and how that affected everybody. How that affected Hunter and Bobby. I thought the talk about their relationship was poignant stuff. And don't crap on Battlestar Galactica, man. All right, I won't defend season 4 of that show because they did kind of jump the shark at that point, but Battlestar Galactica was a great fucking show. I was hoping Coulson would betray Quake, only because it would be interesting. I'm not so sure he didn't. They definitely dropped enough hints that there are things about those gauntlets that Simmons cooked up that they weren't telling her. They alluded to some potential side effects, that they didn't bother to explain very much. And from the way Simmons was acting when she gave the gauntlets to Coulson, it's obvious that she was feeling a little guilty about it. I suspect that that there could be some potentially lethal side effects. Remember, Coulson asked Simmons to develop ways of controlling Skye, possibly putting her down if necessary. There could be like some kind of kill shot in those gauntlets. Like if she creates an earthquake too severe as a failsafe, like what if there's something that like injects her with cyanide or something just to put her down and to, for the greater good. I suspect there's something. There's there could be something potentially lethal in those gloves that we don't know about yet, or at least something potentially very dangerous that could harm Skye seriously. They could have good intentions, like it's for safety. Something we have to do this just in case the worst should happen. But I get a feeling there's something there's stuff going on with those gloves that they neglected to tell her. The Ward 33 stuff was great, but whatever. I'd have hit it like the fist of Thor if Quake started crawling on me like that, LOL. I don't know, man. That's kind of rapey. That's really rapey, actually. Is this how 33 would be acting if she were in her right mind? No. So that would have been Ward taking sexual advantage of her when she's not in a position to really think for herself. That would pretty much be rape. And that's not cool. That would be kind of a despicable thing to do. 6 out of 10, above average because of Ward and 33. Yeah, that relationship is so deliciously fucked up. I kind of love that. That gaming asshole. Save me one. If anything, I imagine the 33 is supposed to be Madame Mask. Either that or they're making her up completely. Doubtful, though, since all the other characters seem to actually be someone and not just made up. Also, riding mowers for the lulz. Yeah, I got a good chuckle out of that. That's the first time we've seen Talbot really being a normal guy, and not just being on a witch hunt for S.H.I.E.L.D. or being like a brigadier general, just being a normal guy. And here he is talking about riding mowers and Taco Tuesday. Good stuff. Okay. Newest first. The Save Me one. I see two possibilities for coming up. One, Gorgon will rescue Skye next week. I think I mean Gordon. Yeah. Gordon will rescue Skye next week, or two, this will lead to everyone being captured and Skye returns and uses her powers to take down the entire helicarrier. At least I think that was a helicarrier they were on. Oh, I hope it was a helicarrier. I'll be disappointed if it's not a helicarrier. That would be fucking awesome. Okay, well, all right, the promo for next week shows, I guess, real S.H.I.E.L.D. making their move on Coulson's team. Among other things, we see May versus Bobby, and people coming after Skye. So I assume, they think that Coulson has sequestered Skye to kind of use, maybe turn her into some kind of weapon, and they come at they come after her, and Skye goes on the run. I guess it's the simple explanation is that Gordon teleports in and saves her, and if the gauntlets have some kind of unhealthy side effects or potentially lethal side effects, if the worst should happen, and I think there's reason to suspect that may be the case, that could be the impetus for Skye to kind of go off with the Inhumans for a few episodes, because I believe Luke Mitchell's guest stint is starting pretty soon. Within the next episode or two, I think. Yeah, if you don't know, they cast Luke Mitchell as an Inhuman, who's going to be helping Skye learn to control her powers. So she's going to be spending some time with him. I doubt it would be in Shield custody. So, you got to figure she's going to wind up with the Inhumans at some point, probably. I guess Gordon could teleport her there, teleport her away from the real Shield forces. It makes sense. The dots connect. I think it's the logical way to go. That gaming asshole. Actually, I would argue that Simmons is completely wrong, and if she weren't so adorable, I would hate her for it. Laurel, take note. Okay. Yeah, I do mostly support Fitz in this argument. But, in the interest of examining both sides of this, a lot of that is probably because, a lot of that, of us, a lot of people siding with Fitz in this argument is probably because we know what the Inhumans are from the comics. And we know that they're not like diseases, like walking disease bags or deadly pathogens waiting to kill everyone. It's kind of like being a mutant. The difference, the danger lies in the person wielding the powers, not really the powers themselves. So we know this, but these characters are learning this for the first time. This is all new to them. They don't really know what an Inhuman is. And in Simmons' experience, alien exposure and superpowers generally lead to really bad things happening and people she cares about being put in danger and sometimes dying. So I don't really agree with Simmons' viewpoint, but I do kind of understand why she thinks that way. That gaming asshole. I love how Hunter is just sitting there with the SHIELD command staff, no guards or restraints or anything. Well, you could argue that they were armed, probably. And Mac was there. And, it's like, well, he's on a boat. It's not like he can escape. Of course, then he does escape. Man, Jesus, guys, at least tie his hands together. I think Mac kind of talked him down enough where he wasn't just going to go off the handle and start trying to break everyone's neck. I mean, they were trying to explain to him what the deal was. They were trying to have like a rational discussion and a calm discussion. And, they didn't seem to think they were in the wrong there. I don't think, if they were terrorists or Hydra or AIM or whatever, and they were holding the guy against his will because they knew he wasn't going to like them, then yeah, they'd tie him up or cuff his wrists or something. But these are people who seem to think that they're in the right, and they're trying to convince him of that. And yeah, he could have tried to escape in that scene, but he didn't. So yeah, maybe it's a little bit of a dramatic conceit there, but it didn't bother me. One well-placed stab with an ink pen and the real SHIELD director is dead. Put him in one of those force field rooms or something. Again, well, hey, yeah, he could have done that stuff, but he didn't. At least not in that scene. Yeah, he escaped later on, but he was in there with Bobby Morse, and who it's reasonable to assume, they figured that if he tried to escape, she would stop him. They didn't count on her kind of falling prey to her emotions and allowing him to escape. If she had tried to stop him from escaping, I don't think he would have escaped. Because it's Bobby fucking Morse. You know, if she stopped him from escaping, he'd still be there. That gaming asshole. Nah, they just had Simmons say that to build tension. It's just her gauntlets from the comics, really. I don't know, dude. I don't know. She did look very guilty, and uncomfortable when she handed those gauntlets to Coulson. And you know, this guy asked him about the side effects, and he was like deliberately vague. I think there's something they're not telling her. They're not, I don't think they're the gauntlets from the comics quite yet. I think that's going to be an evolving thing. Those gauntlets are definitely going to show up this season, I think, but not yet. I think that'll probably come in the season finale. And until then, they're going to kind of evolve. But I do think there's something about those gauntlets that those things that this guy is not going to be happy about. And okay, back to the bottom. See if I missed anything. All the other stuff. If you want to ask me about anything else, go ahead and do it now. All right, NJ. Where's Fourth Dimension Fool Killer? I would like him to make an appearance or do one of these live streams by himself. As for this live stream, out of all the shows this week, which one was your favorite? Well, I don't know where Fourth Dimension Fool Killer is right now. If I know him, he's probably waiting for an opportunity to come back with a bang. Because he's really conceited, and he's a huge attention whore. And the last two times he decided to really fuck up my life, they were pretty big and eventful. And he got a lot of attention on himself, and I think he's waiting for an opportunity to come back and do that again. And when such an opportunity presents itself, I imagine we'll see him again. I hope not, because I hate that bastard. The son of a bitch can... Ugh. He's awful. He's probably at the strip club again, spending all my money. Okay, out of all the shows this week, which one was your favorite? Well, it wasn't Flash, that's for sure. Shield and Arrow were both very good episodes. Take your pick. Okay. Deluxe Man. This is a random question, but will you be reviewing WrestleMania 31? You review WrestleMania every year, so I figured I'd ask. And... You know, my enthusiasm for WrestleMania right now is so low. I said this someone asked me about this on Twitter Monday night. I said, you know, I honestly don't know if I'm even... I said to him, I honestly don't know if I'm even going to watch WrestleMania right now. I keep forgetting that it's actually this Sunday. I have to keep reminding myself about that. That's not a good sign. I had an idea to do a live stream about it. I don't know if I'll be able to watch it live. I thought about doing a live stream about it after Raw on Monday. Just talk about WrestleMania and the post-Raw WrestleMania all at once. Just do a big live stream about that. If I do that, I'll post like a notice on Twitter about it. But yeah, I'm sure I'll talk about WrestleMania. I don't know if I'll do a separate video about it, but I'll talk about it at least. Uh, Freaks TV Channel E. April Killer. Loving these sci-fi reviews of yours. My question is, the Flash time travel logic seems all back to front from the get-go, or am I missing something? Wells went back in time to kill Barry, but didn't he create the Flash with his machine? Shouldn't the Flash not even exist in this future present timeline, have wouldn't have needed to go back in the first place? Terminator logic, I prefer Back to the Future logic. You raise good questions, and I don't know if I have an answer to any of them. This is why I wasn't crazy about the whole time travel idea in the first place, because you're inevitably running into big logic holes and stuff that doesn't add up, and it's you kind of create a big mess for yourself. It just seems a lot simpler to just not go there. Wells went back in time to kill Barry, but didn't he create the Flash with his machine? Well, that may not have been on purpose. I assume there's more to this story that they haven't revealed yet. I think in the comics, Eobard Thawne couldn't kill Barry because without Barry, he wouldn't get, he wouldn't have gotten his own powers. Maybe, I don't know. I don't really follow the Flash comics, but I think it was something like that. Yeah, and if the Flash doesn't exist in the future present, and if he killed Barry in the past, then the Flash wouldn't exist in the future, so he wouldn't have needed to go back in the first. Yes. And you give yourself a migraine trying to figure this stuff out. I really don't have an answer, and that's a problem, because this stuff should be starting to make sense, and instead it's just getting more confusing. I don't want this to turn into a Lost situation where they just end up raising more and more questions and never answer anything. Ah, yeah. That gaming asshole. I almost wish they had kept the fake Sarah angle going a little bit longer. I'd pay money to laugh that hard every week. I mean, the part where Laurel was pretending to be Sarah in order to fool Quentin, I didn't like that at all. That made Quentin look like an idiot. And it really didn't add up either. He took one look at Roy in the Arsenal suit, and he could figure out that, oh, hey, you're Roy Harper. But he could see footage of Laurel. He could see Laurel in person. Shadowed, yeah, but he could see her and not tell that this isn't Sarah. What's more, he could meet the Arrow in person multiple times and not know this is Oliver Queen. Well, why can he recognize Roy in the costume, but not Oliver? How could he be fooled so easily by Laurel in the Black Canary suit? It made no sense. It was really inconsistent, and Quentin is supposed to be smarter than that. Okay. Louis V6. What is the excuse me. Louis V6. What is the point of Ray Palmer being on Arrow besides the fact that he will be integrated into the Arrow Flash spin-off series? I think you just answered your own question. Not a knock on Brandon Routh. I think he's a terrific actor, but we can make the assertion that nobody seems to resonate with Ray Palmer, and his character adds nothing to the show. I think Felicity is resonating with Ray Palmer, as unfortunate as that may be. I think the point of using Palmer was twofold. One, to set up the spinoff. Two, to give Oliver a romantic rival and a professional rival at the same time. As I understand it, they originally wanted to use Ted Kord for this, but they couldn't get the rights to him for some reason. So they went with the Atom. And they're really playing up the Oliver and Felicity stuff now, and he can't be with her because of reasons. And so they gave her a love interest, and it's something new. I understand the reason behind it. I would argue that it hasn't worked very well because the Ray Palmer character hasn't come off entirely the way I'm sure they intended him to. But I see why they wanted to use it. It just hasn't been completely effective. Damn. Time for some cough drops. The Save Me One. What do you think about Fox bringing back the X-Files? I have mixed feelings. I was a big fan of the X-Files back in the day. I'm not against the idea, but here's the problem. Aren't we several years past the date when the alien colonization was supposed to happen? I think that was supposed to happen in like December 2010, I want to say. Something like that. But yeah, it was supposed to have happened a couple of years ago. So unless this X-Files sequel series or whatever it is, unless that's taking place in the past, then I'm not sure how this is going to work. From what little I've heard about it, it sounds like it's going to be a return to the classic format of like standalone cases and stuff, but shouldn't they be dealing with like the alien colonization and trying to like save the human race from that? I don't know. It almost kind of seems like this is a few years too late. I mean, I would have liked. They missed a golden opportunity with the second movie, I Want to Believe, where they could have wrapped this up. Yeah, they could have made that movie about Mulder and Scully trying to stop the colonization before it happens, but instead they made it about some psychic pedophile priest, and I don't know. I didn't see it, but actually I saw a version of it on YouTube that was dubbed in another language. But I know that it had nothing to do with the aliens. So they kind of just let that pass them by. And now it's like they kind of missed their chance to wrap this up in the proper way. Now it's like we're several years past the date when the colonization was supposed to happen. So I don't know how they could do the show now. That's gonna be weird. Okay. Oh dear God. That gaming asshole. Battle of the Terrible Girlfriends. Fuck, Marry, Kill. Barbara Gordon, Iris Never Caught Your Last Name, or Laurel Lance. Barbara, Iris, or Laurel. Holy shit. There's only one way out of this. Have them stand back to back to back, so when I kill one of them, the bullet goes through all three. Oh man, if I have to answer this, oh Christ. Well, I don't like any of their personalities. So, oh God. I would. No, no, I'm sorry. I can't do it. I can't. That's fucking. How can I answer that? That's fucking impossible, man. It's just. No, 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 no. It can't be done. I want to kill all three of them. How can I possibly answer this? Uh, all right, there's only one way I can do this. Disregarding anything regarding their personalities, just make it all about looks. In fact, get a big roll of duct tape, just duct tape all their mouths shut. So it's just strictly about looks and body and like who has the best body and shit. In that sense, oh Christ. I guess I would, if it's just about looks and nothing else, I guess I would kill Iris, fuck Laurel, and marry Barbara. Oh, God. I'm going to be sick just thinking about that. Fuck you, man. Fuck that question. God damn it. Ugh. Freaks TV Channel E. Sorry about my time travel logic question. I could see the migraine appearing in your forehead there. Hey, it's not. Hey, blame the writers, man. You're right to ask questions about that because it really doesn't make a lot of sense at all. You're right to ask questions. Now, and I'm here to try to answer them as best I can. That gaming asshole. December 12th, 2012 was the day the colonists were supposed to come. Okay, well, we're still a couple years past that. I would appreciate if they had it set in a world where mankind was already conquered like Defiance. All right. If it's like a post-apocalyptic world where the aliens have already taken over and mankind is on the brink of extinction or something, that might be interesting. It kind of seems like it would defeat the purpose because, you know, X-Files was all about asking questions and potentially stopping this from happening, and now it's already happened, so the show is kind of over. And again, it doesn't really look like that's what they're going to do. But who knows? Would be an interesting scenario, though, if the aliens already took over. Yeah, maybe we're trying to live with the aliens, like in Defiance. I like Defiance, actually. It's a pretty good show. You know, I preferred season 1 to see from season 2, though, but I do like Defiance. This saved me one. Marry Laurel, fuck Barbara, kill Iris. Gonna marry Laurel, huh? Good luck to you, man. There's There's no good choices in that scenario. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. You're fucked either way. So there's no way you can answer it. That's gonna turn out well. Uh, that gaming asshole. Not related to the shows or anything, but has anyone pointed out those posters for Dawn of Justice say "Unite the Seven"? I didn't know there was more than one. I saw the Aquaman one. That's it. I know the seven are the JLA, but besides Superman, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman, who do you think the other three are going to be? My guess is Manhunter, Green Lantern, and Cyborg. I would love to see Hawkgirl, though. Let's see. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. Well, we know Cyborg has been cast in Dawn of Justice, so I assume he's one of them. Let's see. Green Lantern. Would they want to do Green Lantern again? Because the Green Lantern movie didn't turn out so well. Maybe they could do a different Green Lantern, like a Jon Stewart or Kyle Rayner, maybe, possibly. I don't know. I think Manhunter would probably be more likely. I'd like to see Hawkgirl too. I liked her in the Justice League animated series. She was cool. Louis V6. If you're the writer and you were given a choice to kill off Laurel or Iris, who would your poison be? Give the devil his due. I think Laurel has become slightly less irritating in recent episodes. It kind of seems like they're doing a little bit of character surgery with her. Whereas Iris she doesn't really serve much of a point in the story yet. And she doesn't really do much aside from just be the focal point of a love triangle that it really isn't working or interesting at all. If you put a gun to my head and told me to choose, I'd say kill off Iris. Because that would seem to solve a lot of problems with the show. Whereas Laurel, love it or hate it, is in kind of a critical position right now on Arrow. And if you kill her, you're kind of turning over some tables there that that you kind of need, and you kind of need those tables to keep standing right now. That gaming asshole. Speaking of DC Comics, Palmer hit Roy with a fucking particle beam on Arrow. Shouldn't he be dead? That blast went through him, and it was bright and energetic enough to illuminate his skeleton. Good, you raise a good point. I don't have an answer to that. Maybe it was like a blast of, like a bolt of electricity or something, but it was big enough to where you'd think he'd be dead. We know Cisco came up with like a souped-up version of the Arrow suit, make it more bullet-resistant, give him Oliver greater protection. We could argue that maybe Cisco came up with the same kind of suit for Roy off-screen that maybe protected him enough to save him from the blast. Maybe Palmer was just using non-lethal ordnance. It looked big enough to kill him, but Palmer seemed to consider himself a good guy who didn't want to kill people. I assumed he was using non-lethal, like a, sorry. Oh, like, damn it. I assumed Palmer was using like a non-lethal attack. It may not have looked that way, but, you know, comic book show. To be blunt, in real life, that would blow a huge hole through a house, let alone a human. That's like being caught in a particle accelerator. The physical trauma, to say nothing of the ionization, would have killed him, and the flash would have left him permanently blind. Is he on Mirakuru or something? Well, this is a world in which being caught in a particle accelerator gives you superpowers and doesn't kill you. You know, it's a comic book show. I can take a few things with a grain of salt. I just say, you know what? Palmer's using a non-lethal attack. Maybe the big energy burst thing is just for show and it's not really as deadly as it seems. I think that's it. Is there anything new here that I didn't go over? Louis V6. If you had to pick any actress to replace Katie Cassidy as Black Canary, who would it be? God damn. Pick any actress to replace Katie Cassidy as... Well, you need a girl who's reasonably athletic, who can carry action sequences believably, who is, more importantly, a good actress, who can carry the stuff, the material that they've given Laurel and still retain our sympathies. Off the top of my head, I think Adrienne Palicki could do it. I wouldn't want her to because I love her as Mockingbird, but I think she could pull it off if you cast her as Black Canary. If they had originally cast her as Laurel 3 years ago when the show started, I think she would have been a better choice than Katie Cassidy. That giving asshole. The correct answer is fuck Barbara and kill self. I can see how fucking Barbara might cause thoughts of suicide. She's really horrible. Louis V6, do you watch Better Call Saul? If so, what are your thoughts? I haven't seen Better Call Saul. I've heard it's really good, and supposedly it's doing really well in the ratings. I hear they got off to a much stronger start ratings-wise than Breaking Bad did. And I really liked Saul on Breaking Bad, so I may check it out at some point, but you know, it's not the kind of show I usually watch. In truth, Breaking Bad was not the kind of show I usually watch. I only checked it out in the first place because everyone and their brother was raving about it, and like the series finale got like a just like huge publicity, whereas you couldn't go anywhere without people talking about it. So finally I said to myself, you know what? I've been hearing about Breaking Bad for years. Everybody says it's like the best show on TV. I gotta see what the big deal is about. So I watched Breaking Bad, even though it wasn't really my kind of show. Turns out it's a great fucking show, even if it's not the kind of thing I'm usually into. I hear Better Call Saul is kind of in the same vein as that show was. I may watch it at some point. I don't feel a burning desire to check it out. But could be a Breaking Bad situation where like the hype just becomes so insane that I can't avoid it at some point. That giving asshole. That's the thing. A lightning bolt and a particle beam are effectively the same thing, and both create radiation and massive tissue damage if you get hit by one. I understand the writers may not get this, but there is no such thing as a non-lethal blast of electromagnetic radiation powerful enough to make your skeleton glow. The ionizing radiation alone would have turned him into a puddle. Okay, then they've got a problem here, don't they? Because if this is true, then Roy should be dead. Uh, my advice would be talk to the visual effects guys and come up with an effect for Palmer's weapon that doesn't look so lethal. Because if what you're saying is true, Roy should be dead right now, and I'm not sure how they can get around that. Oh, come on, Google Plus. That gaming asshole, I nominate Kate Upton for Black Canary because of reasons. She would be nicer to look at than Katie Cassidy. I've never seen Kate Upton act in anything. I doubt she's very good, but I don't think Katie Cassidy is very good. So who knows? They might actually be trading. They might actually trade up if they did that. I mean, in fairness, Katie Cassidy is not bad looking, even though her face kind of looks like you hit it with a frying pan. The Save Me won. That gaming asshole. Going by the Game of War promos, I would say Kate Upton looks the part. She-Ra for a live-action movie to me. Really? Kate Upton is She-Ra? Wow, I have nothing to say. Kate Upton is She-Ra. I think that speaks for itself. I have no comment. And I think that'll do it. I'm sorry if I missed anything. I think I got to every question. Damn. All right, I gotta go take some cough drops. Thanks everybody for joining me. And we're about at the 2-hour mark, so that's a good time to end it. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Sorry if I'm a little bit out of it tonight. My allergies are acting up. It's that time of year. Plus, kind of tired, no sleep, but I think we still covered some good stuff. Anyway, please join me next time. This time next week. This time next week, same time, same channel. You know how it goes. I have no outro, and now I'm just babbling incoherently. That's it. The show's over. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Good night, everybody.